But for those who may not know, Kenya is a country in East Africa, bordering the Indian Ocean to the east and home to one of the earliest regions where modern humans, the Homo sapiens, were ever found. It is also home to what most people call the seventh wonder of the world, where wildebeest migration happens every year from July. It is also the setting of Disney's largely successful Lion King animation and the widely successful movie by the same title. Kenya is home to the Big Five wild animals, a major tourist attraction and a country blessed with some of Africa's most beautiful landscapes the continent has to offer. Indeed, a country worth living in. Kenya is also, for the second consecutive year in a row, the dominating P2P trading volume country on the continent. Kenya is also the third largest port in Africa, serving its neighboring countries such as Ethiopia, Burundi, Rwanda, Uganda, and even Congo at some point. Kenya is also the third largest tea exporter in the world, only behind China and Pakistan. If you have watched Global Olympics, you know Kenya produces some of the best athletes in the world. This and many more are things Kenya is known for. But a disaster is brewing in the horizon. You see, the economy of Kenya may be the third largest in Africa, but its citizens are some of the poorest in Africa. In fact, in Kenya, the situation is so bad that over 38% of the population is in extreme poverty. 9% of the population has a permanent full-time job, and a huge percentage of the population doesn't even own a business. A popular billionaire turned presidential aspirant for the 2022 election, Jimmy Wanjigi, recently mentioned that he conducted a self-funded analysis with an overseas firm and found that the country is paying debts which do not exist. In other times, the elite few in the government are siphoning the money to themselves in the name of repaying the national debt, which currently stands at about 10 trillion Kenyan shillings. He also claimed that only 79,000 people in the whole country have 100,000 Kenyan shillings, which equates to about $700 in their account. And I'm guessing this is for individual Kenyans. The Central Bank of Kenya records show a different demographic, but again, you have to factor in companies have accounts at the bank, NGOs have accounts at the bank, multinationals have accounts at the bank, and that's the case. But I would like to ask you to take this with a pinch of salt for now, because it's unverified information. So back to the topic. Now, with the government having spent a little over a year in office, I'd say it's quite a little time to judge them, but still, we cannot turn a blind eye on what they have done so far, the policies they are put in. It's worth to note that even though the government has promised to make life better for Kenyans, the following may be a result of a rippling effect, some of which is above their control, but nevertheless should not be overlooked. So to start off, government policies. The government went on to implement a few things, including a very controversial Finance Act, which enraged and angered a lot of Kenyans who are already struggling with a stagnant inflation that is already too high for the country. In the Finance Act, the act signed into law by the president saw several changes occur. There is, for example, something called turnover tax or TOT. There's a tax imposed upon profits for certain companies. It was increased from 1% to 3% and also includes companies making $150,000 in profits. The government also introduced a digital asset tax, a tax that is imposed on digital items, holdings, or as the government calls it, assets. These include things like cryptocurrencies, NFTs, and even digital currencies, which research has shown that over 4 million Kenyans own or possess. There was also a digital content creation tax, which aims to collect a whopping 15% for more creators benefiting financially from monetary gains from their content that is posted online. Value-added tax also went up for all petroleum products from 8% doubling to 16% overnight, making most commodities extremely pricey for the normal Kenyans who have informal jobs, and even the ones with formal jobs. 3% housing levy was introduced, seeking to curb unemployment as well as provide the same poor Kenyans with a place to live. that is affordable and safe. This bill was later revised to make sure employees provide 1.5% and employers the same percentage to complete the 3% obligation by the government. There's also a 20% deposit of any tax appeal and amount in question first before it's reimbursed back to the owner if the owner wins the case. So you can imagine you're going to claim that you've been taxed too much, or there's a problem with how you've been taxed, and you have to deposit 20% of the amount you're claiming. So let's say it's like 100 million Kenyan shillings. Mobile money transfer, which is a very convenient way of transferring money in Kenya, accounts for a very high tax charge from 12% to 15%. Among telco operating the service will pass to the consumer with immediate effect every time the change is made. The government also chose to make it their business to vet gadgets such as phones to actively oversee transactions you're doing, remembering that a major part of the population uses money transfer via mobile as the operating accounts for both businesses and personal use. The government is even proposing to have a 35% tax on car imports. Can you imagine that 5% tax on car imports under the common external tariff? This piles pressure on car dealers who are planning to protest the move. Actually, the move, government argues, is to equalize taxes within the East African Community Tax Bloc, the same as the proposed VAT from 16% to 18%. Talking about car importation, have you ever known that for any car above 4,000 cc, you could cough up to 51% of the total car's price to just get your hands on the car legally? The government is so unfriendly in this space, and make no mistake, they will go to an extent of even destroying your car at the junkyard if you bypass the process and they catch you. Kenya also has a tax system that is unfriendly to multinational corporations, especially companies with hefty profits. In fact, international mega corporations don't exist in this country, such as Amazon, and this is due to one factor: taxes. Kenya believes that if company Y makes $100 billion in profit, it's entitled to a significant amount of that money, and policymakers, the government, nor the parliament cares. The biggest taker and lobbyists, of course, in all this is the taxman, the Kenya Revenue Authority, a government agency tasked with collecting taxes from anyone and everyone it deems fit to have taxes paid to them. This entity then will go to great lengths to make sure dues are paid regardless of whatever it costs. It may even sue you to oblivion just to get back their money. That's how it goes, Have you ever heard the quote that you can do all mistakes in life but never play with the taxman? I think this applies perfectly to this video. This causes a ripple effect. Mega corporations want to keep their profits as large as possible, but the government of Kenya doesn't care, and a tussle may ensue between the two. So why would they invest in a country that is focused only on taxing them and on creating an environment for their company to grow?
It is tax after tax. There appears to be no reprieve for Kenyans as the government plans to introduce new taxes, including reviewing tax on goods, that is VAT upwards.
Besides, not that many people in Kenya would be making them as much money as they are making in other countries. Corruption in Kenya is one of the biggest problems. Even the revenues collected by the government go to the pockets of a few people in the same government. In some cases, the elite businessmen and even direct politicians may benefit and leave struggling Kenyans in debt that keep rising with each financial year. This then has, seen the lack of interest by other multinational companies and mega corporations from setting foot in Kenya. Simply, the numbers don't add up to them, and nor is it worth the risk. This, again, is despite the country being the third largest economy in Africa and largest in East and Central Africa. Surely the taxes that keep being imposed every day do play a major role in killing off any morale or growth of interest. Every single day, the Kenyan government finds ways to increase more taxes on Kenyans who are unable to even feed themselves 3 meals a day. The same Kenyans it forced to lower commodities and prices of basic in-house items. Life has become so hard that banks are projecting over half of the people who got lent money may never pay it back. It's a dire situation. No one cares about the Kenyan who has no job and has to survive on an already saturated market. A country with no enough jobs, limited resources, and even graduates who have degrees and PhDs but can't get work. It's a dire situation. there surely are channels and other avenues the government can use. It is concerning that only 79,000 people have $700 in their account in a population of 55 million people. And I want you to get this right. 79,000 people only have $700 plus. It means the rest of the people don't even have like money that is above that. Only 79,000 people. That represents a 1.44% of the population. And that is not even the top 1%. There's the elite top 1% of the 1% who are complaining about the new proposed increase in car tax. A move aimed at forcing people to buy more electric vehicles, which are extremely expensive for people in this country. And the recent increase of fuel to hit a whopping 211 shillings, a record high, or $2 per litre, a record number for the price of petroleum in the country. Commodities like sugar are so high that people are resorting to using honey as an alternative. Bread and cooking oil are untouchable. In fact, for someone to enjoy a breakfast of bread with tea, it's possible to go up to 150 shillings a day. In the morning, an amount astonishingly high for a country that 38% of the people live under $1 a day. It's a grim and sad picture, and one that ought to change immediately. And I believe like the government should just do something about this. The subsidies that it had put in place were working just fine, but the president of Kenya just wants to raise more and more money so that he can fund his ambitious plans and very many other things that he sees fit. This is the same president who campaigned and told people to vote for him, that he is going to make things cheap. But here we are. Every day, life is untouchable. People sleep hungry. The people who work in formal jobs like construction are paid very little money. $5 a day for construction. It's so bad. I'm telling you, it's shocking. Government should look at avenues that it can change this, and I believe that there's more to be done than just this. I have been your host, Ian Best. Please subscribe and share this video with friends. If you find it helpful, please leave a like. It helps me with the algorithm and pushes the video to more people. Thanks a lot.